I would advise to future working across border students to be creative, try to have fun with everyone, try to get to know each other very well, so we have like more of a feeling that you're working as a group of friends and not as a group of students.
As an advice for a future student, I would give that make sure you plan your meeting time in the beginning. So when you have get to know each other, just make an appointment like on Monday at 7. We always call and then we work on our project.
And also, you have to take into account that not everyone is gonna participate as much as you like. But you just have to move forward with the people who are, because your ideas are really good and they're gonna come to life with the people who are willing to work on it.
Before starting the project, it would be better if you could arrange some icebreaker thing in order to make stronger bonds between the group members, like a common event or some activities. So that's all, and thanks for the big opportunity.
Actually, for the future students, plan your work in advance. Plan, and be open to learning. You'll have a lot of fun. Thank you.
So a tip that I have for the next batch is that if you're doing this online, then I suggest you turn on your video during meetings. So it's helpful not only for your group members, but also for yourself, because it shows that you're taking the initiative to participate in the project, which could be useful in getting a good score for your peer evaluation, and to show that you're not just a passive member.
I highly encourage you guys to actually communicate with your partners, with your teammates, as it would be very crucial for you guys to work with each other during the working cross-border projects. And thank you all. Have a nice day.
I invite all students to grab this opportunity and get involved in WAB. It is not scary as it looks, and it brings benefits you will enjoy. You will have fun and gain new experience, knowledge, and friends.
You need to take into account the difference of schedules, because obviously you are not going to work with people that are in the same university.
Wow, that was really, really cool. I can feel the enthusiasm in the video.
Right, I can as well feel like all the advices are taken. So now we have Ville Saarikoski from Laurea University of Applied Sciences from Finland, who will introduce you more about the partners that participate in this year's WAB. So Ville, the screen is yours.
Oh, hello guys. I thought I was just watching the event here, but it seems I am live, so very happy to be here. I will share my slides. Just a minute and share screen. And now you should be seeing my slides, and then the slideshow. Okay, I'm Ville Saarikoski. I'm in Finland, and if you didn't know, Finland is located between Indonesia and Canada. This is the first time I have introduced Finland in such a way, and if you look at the world, indeed we are. This morning, the temperature here was 1 degrees plus. We're going towards the winter here, getting colder gradually. Every Thursday for the last week, I have been sitting in a Teams meeting together with our partners, with my partners, with the core group of this project. And my task is now to briefly introduce the universities which are involved in this project. So I'm from Laura. I think Laura will come again with the pictures of my colleagues. The core team is about 9, 10 universities, 15 people. But yes, indeed, there are a lot more involved. There are 30 coaches involved in this project. And as you saw, presently I'm seeing the figure of 205 participating in this meeting. But if you look at the students in classrooms, we are maybe ranging a figure higher than that in 300, 400. We have counted that there might be 500 students participating. And indeed, they are coming throughout the globe. And these were last year's figures. And today you saw the quick setup of today's figures from people coming from all over the world. So this is indeed very much a global project. We start with our, let's say, core. This program originated from Belgium. And here we have the University of Applied Sciences, or UCLL as I refer to it. And they are a country of chocolate. This year's known for their chocolate. And this year's project will be about chocolate, but not coming from Belgium. But Belgium is also the first letter in the first by order of alphabet. So for that reason, Belgium is here. Next, we have, we go towards the west, looking from the Finnish perspective. We go to Canada and Durham College there, and Brad Niblett and Roger Tenkate, my colleagues over there. And I think this year, and I think I will hear a sound of applause from Canada, the biggest group is coming from Canada, but there is a competition going on between Belgium and Canada, which group is the biggest this year. The most exotic from my perspective would be in Ecuador, but each one of you in the audience can decide which country is the most exotic. I think we are a very, very diverse group, and that is one of the main points to take on board. Diversity is key in innovation, for example. So from Ecuador, Universidad Católica de Santiago de Guayaquil, and I think I will be getting a pronouncing lesson later on how to pronounce the name of the university. From there, we come back to Finland. Laurea, Kaija Koivusalo, Sebastian King, and myself from Laurea. We have a bachelor program, bachelor students, and also master students from Laurea on board. Then my colleagues in Indonesia, in Binus, the place from where we had today's music, and the event is being hosted by Binus today. And from Indonesia, we move forward to in Holland. And from in Holland, we move towards remaining in Europe, in Slovenia, the business college at Doba. Northwestern University in South Africa. And then finally, moving on to the United States and Northwood University. So indeed, global we are, and the project is global. And with these words, I hand it over to the next presenter. So Venus, back to you.
Phenomenal. Thank you, Ville, for talking about the partner universities for this year. Shortly, we'll have Rohir Temkat from Durham College in Canada, who will introduce the project for this year's Working Across Borders, as well as the client. But before that, I heard we have the winning video from last year's Working Across Borders. I'm so excited. Let's take a look.
Hello Kone, my name is Andreas, and together with my team, the Fantastic Five, we have been stalking you for the last 2 months. Not in a sinister way though. We have tried to find solutions to make mobility in the future cities of China more enjoyable and sustainable.
Have you heard about smart cities before? These are cities where the technological development is high. Here data is collected and analyzed to make the life of all citizens more efficient and enjoyable. As we all know, ever growing. This pushes city developers to build up. This is why elevators are becoming an essential part of the everyday life in China. Making the elevator experience as nice as possible will be crucial.
By focusing on green mobility, safety and technology, great results will be achieved. The father of management thinking, Peter Drucker, has said that the best way to predict the future is to create it. And we believe we could just do that. We present you with Elevate, the elevator of a new smart world.
High tech is the core of Elevate. The elevator implements both AR and VR technology to give its user a flexible, informative and satisfying journey. Imagine an elevator giving you the directions to navigate to your destination in or out of a building. Or how about getting live weather reports, news or public transport schedules that are local to you? And all this wrapped in green tech, bringing the elevator into a cleaner future. Elevate and its advanced technology contribute to a future of faster, taller and better connected world. Say no more. The future of transportation within buildings is here. Elevate fosters imagination. We bring together state-of-the-art virtual reality, machine learning and artificial intelligence features to take the elevator experience to another level. The performance would enhance faster direct travels, high handling capacity, minimized waiting times with immense convenience, coupled with personal.
What thou, Aurel, that video was really inspiring. I hope we can be just like them after the end of the event. Anywho, Rohir, I'll pass it on to you to explain more about the project as well as this year's new client. The stage is now yours. Rohir, if you can hear us, you are still muted. Please unmute.
There you go.
Okay, so it seems like there are technical errors. So let's try to wait back.
Wait.
Oh, okay. Hi. Hi, Rohir.
I assume that from Canada long today. No, we have the connection going. We were unable to unmute, but we got it going now. So thank you so much, Venus, for introducing me and also the showing the video of last year's project. As you can tell, the bar has been set pretty high, and it's up to all of you to really take on this challenge today and work for our new client, which is basically Barry Callebaut. We also have Bas Smit in our audience today. After I do a short introduction of the actual project itself, I will hand over to Bas to introduce the client, of course, introduce the company Barry Callebaut, and also talk a little bit about the challenges that the chocolate industry is dealing with. I'm very honored. As you saw earlier, we were actually in a classroom here in Canada with about 150 somewhat students. So besides having over 200 students online, we also had 150 students here in the classroom. So Can you go to the next slide, please? The project overview, the project you're going to be working on this year is actually displayed in the actual project overview here. If you haven't realized it yet, we have started the project already. If all is correct, you should have gotten an access code to Toledo. And that's basically our learning platform that we share all the information with you. If you're not in there, contact your professor as soon as possible to make sure that you get connected with Toledo, because that's what we're going to be communicating with you about the project and all the phases that you're going to go through. So also on the project itself, before October 16th, you have to actually complete a quiz. And you have to go through a couple of phases in Toledo to be able to complete that. The next phase that we're going to go into is called the project execution phase. And in the project execution phase, that's basically where you're going to be working on the project itself. And with your teams and with your groups you're going to be working on, you're actually going to be finding or creating a solution to a challenge that Barry Callebaut has put in front of you. Okay? So again, on the project review, you see quickly here that the actual project execution phase will start on October 20th. And you will do some research on the actual country that you've gotten selected. You will do some research on the sustainable development goals, respective of the country that you've gotten selected. And you will also, try to, of course, come up with a creative idea. A creative idea being, the challenge I'm going to put out to you in a minute. Finding with your team members a solution that is valuable for Barry Callebaut. Again, the cool thing about this project is that you will not be working with students from your own institution. You will actually be collaborating with students from all over the world that were just introduced, right? So we'll have a minimum of at least 3 different cultures represented in every team. So part of the challenge is not only finding a good and creative solution for Barry Callebaut, but also to be able to communicate and interact with people and team members from different cultures and different backgrounds. And that's where it gets really interesting, because part of not only finding a solution for Barry Callebaut, it's also about you finding ways to cross those intercultural and multidisciplinary kind of barriers that you have. All right, so the project execution phase will go from October 20th until about December the 3rd. In between, we will also offer a couple of small workshops for you to get really excited about the project itself and help you through the process. What we've seen in the past years is that one of the big challenges of the project itself is to be as creative as possible, right? So creativity tends to kind of dumb down if you are under stress. So if there is a time pressure on things, people tend to go with the first idea that comes up. The first idea is usually not the best idea. So through the workshops, we're going to try to help you with part of it being creativity. Another thing is also that the end result being that you have to deliver, for example, a 5-minute video of your idea, just like we saw with Kone from our last year client from one of the teams. So how do you get from your idea into a pitch that really describes the idea that you just developed with your team? All right. Then on December 3rd, we're going to go into the actual final phase of the project where you actually submit it. And that's also where we're going to be evaluating. You're not going to be doing this by yourself, by the way. We'll have coaches, about 35 coaches, I think, this year that are going to support all the different teams and are going to help you with the process. They're not matter experts, right? They are there to help you through the process, through the different phases. And if there are some struggles within the project itself, to really help you with that. Can I go to the next slide? So again, focusing on the project execution phase, you will do with your team some analysis. And I made a little bit of a summary here where, first of all, you have to look at the challenge. So you got to do some research on the country that you're going to get selected, because every team will work on one country. We have 12 countries in total for all the teams. I think we're this year with over 100 teams that are actually going to be working on the project. So every team will get a selected specific country to do research on and come back with a good solution for that specific country. But within your analysis, you're going to look at the assigned country itself, of course. You're going to look at a pest analysis or pestal analysis, where you're going to do a good, thorough country analysis on that. You're going to look at, do you understand the customer in that country? So what are certain customer personas? What are certain customer behaviors, social, cultural aspects of that? You're going to look at the sustainable development goals. And you're also going to look at, what is the value of the client. So you have to do a little bit of research on what Barry Callebaut does in that specific country and how it's related to the actual project. Next slide, please. So when we look at the sustainable proposal, when you have done all the research, now it's time for that creative process. That creative process being where you translate all your findings and all your research work into an exact, perfect, valuable idea that Barry Callebaut can actually use in their operations, right? So you have to create a proposal. Again, I told you already, there are going to be some workshops available for all students that you can attend and get some more information on how to approach a creative process with international teams, for example. And then you translate that into what they really call a pitch presentation. For people that don't know what a pitch is, it's basically you have to describe the whole idea into about a 5-minute little video. Right? So you have to get to the core of the actual idea and proposal that you have, that when our client Bas actually watches those videos, he can get a quick understanding of what the actual concept of the idea is. Okay? So we will also provide a workshop at some point of those of how to create a pitch and what to do with it. So if you don't know what it is, you're also able to join these little workshops to help you kind of go through the process. The next slide. So what is the actual challenge that we're going to put in front of you? And it's twofold. You're going to get one of these challenges introduced to your team. So you don't have to do both of them. You're just going to do one of these challenges. So the challenge being that you have to answer these questions for Barry Callebaut. The first one is focused on the end consumer market. So in a specific country that you're going to be doing research in, you have to find a way, how do I communicate with the end consumer, people eating chocolates, and how do they, or how should we communicate this whole thing that we're going to be looking at in a minute, second generation chocolate? Because that's where basically the concept is all about. It's a new way of introducing chocolate to the market. It has been already introduced, but how do we get the consumer to actually buy in to that concept of second generation chocolate, and how do we get them to actually adopt? So we're going to create a campaign for that. The other side of the question, and again, it's only one of those two you're going to get, is that you don't focus on the end consumer, but you focus on the actual chocolate producers. And when we talk about chocolate producers, we're talking about all the big brands that are out, right? The Toblerone, the Magnums, the Tony Chocolonis, go to the supermarket and buy chocolate, and you see who actually produces the chocolate, right? So one is focused on the end consumer market, and one of those clients that they like to have a kind of a pitch deck for, or a kind of like a campaign for, is for the actual chocolate producers. The final deliverable of the project itself is that you provide a 5 to 7 minute. Okay, that is where you do your 100% research and you zoom it back down to about a 5-minute explanation. This is what we're going to offer to Barry Callebaut. All right, so that is pretty much an explanation of what your challenge is going to be all about. It's going to be a very interesting time that you're going to go through, besides the fact that the project is what it is. This is the challenge that is going to be put in front of you, and how do you now connect with all your teammates and your team members to really come up with a brilliant idea that Barry Callebaut can do. Okay, next slide, please. So now it's time to actually hear from the client itself. So Bas Smith is the Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer at Barry Callebaut Group, which is the leading world global chocolate and cacao manufacturer, which is responsible for about 1 in 4 of all chocolate and cacao creations across the globe. Bas has transformed the company from a B2B to a B2H, a business to human company, focusing on consumer and customer centricity. Known for his innovative approach, Bas Smith has led the creation of award-winning products like Ruby chocolate, whole fruit chocolates, and Elix, the first nutraceutical fruit drink supported by a proven health claim. Most recently, in the end of 2022, the second generation chocolate was launched, addressing the mindful living consumer. Another key focus area for Bas Smith, is to shape Barry Callebaut's customer journeys to drive the digital transformation and data-driven commerce. With the career spanning Barry Callebaut for since 2015, and also at Unilever from 1997 until 2014, Bas Smit has 25 years of experience leading multicultural customer development and marketing teams in many parts of the world. He holds a Master of Science degree in Operational Research and Statistics, studied mathematics and econometrics, and finally achieved a postdoctorate in brand management. I would love to welcome Bas to the actual stage and introduce the client to all of you. Bas, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Welcome, welcome. Can I hand over the microphone to you? Can I ask Binus to start on Bas's presentation?
Hello to all students across the world. I'm extremely excited to be part of this journey of yours. I assume you hear me well. Probably, Rogier, you can just nod, then I know you hear me. Yes, you hear me. Okay, though. No, I think the world survives with knowledge sharing, and I'm very eager to learn from you. But prior to learn from you, I would like to introduce you to I think a fascinating case. I'm Bas Smit. I'm living in Switzerland with my family already for about 5 years. Loving nature and inspired by nature, which is abundantly around us here in Switzerland. We started to rethink what would it take us to create products available in supermarkets which celebrate nature's gifts and nature's beauty. You can already find some of these products in other categories, but not yet in chocolate. And I will come back to that, what we mean with it. So the second generation chocolate is born in Venice a couple of months ago in October 2022. There we had a global launch event for the top tier media, and then you should think about Bloomberg, Reuters, Financial Times, that type, Cosmopolitan, that type of titles, who were present and learned firsthand about this novelty being born. If we go to the next slide. That's briefly about myself. Like I said, and what Rogier spoke about as well, I've been working for 17 years for Unilever and the last 8 years for Barry Callebaut. We're the global leader in chocolate. You can assume that the majority of brands you buy, as well with artisans, we produce their chocolate. What I'm particularly proud of is that I've been involved in leading some breakthrough innovations over the last couple of years. And to put it in a context, in 1850 or so, dark chocolate was launched. Then in 1875, milk chocolate was launched, and in 1937, white chocolate. And then we had to wait until 2017 up and until the first new type of chocolate was born, and that was ruby chocolate. So can you imagine almost everybody living on this planet? If you are 80 years old, now that's not the average age of the majority of people who live on the planet, they were not introduced to a new type of chocolate. But fortunately, we were able to do so. And leveraging our deep scientific knowledge and the expertise of our R&D teams, we were able not only introduce once a novelty in the world of chocolate, but 3 times over the last couple of years. Now, for today's case, I would like to focus upon second-gen chocolate. By the way, all these chocolates have been winning multiple awards globally for the innovative power. We go to the next slide, please. In the next slide, briefly about Barry Callebaut. We are spread across the world. We are very close to our customers on purpose, so we can deliver the service they expect from us. And we have close to 70 factories. We work with 10 to 15,000 people. People work not only obviously in factories, but in R&D centers across the world. But what makes us unique is that we work very closely with the communities in the cocoa growing countries. I've been myself, for example, in Ecuador, one of the universities in Ecuador, or been in the plantations in Indonesia. whereas some other universities are. So I think that makes us vertically integrated, and ultimately novelties are born out of a lot of knowledge and knowledge sharing between different teams, between different functions. And the fact that we know what is growing on plantations gives us so much insights, and therefore the ability to transform it ultimately into, for example, a second generation chocolate. If we go to the next slide. A little bit about chocolate making. That's important for you to understand the context of this novelty. There are cacao fruit trees. These cacao fruit trees produce cacao fruit pods. And if you open such a cacao fruit pod, there are seeds. Now, these seeds are called cocoa beans. And these cocoa beans are then transported to different locations across the globe, where we process these cocoa beans. And ultimately, if we add milk, for example, to these processing steps and some sugar, you end up with a dark chocolate, you end up with a milk chocolate, you end up with a white chocolate or with a ruby chocolate. All these chocolates so far today are first generation chocolates. So the chocolates you can consume across the world now are all first generation chocolates. So can you imagine that you live your entire life in a and enjoy a product category which has always been in its first generation? Then normally you would complain as a consumer because your attitudes to life change and you are expecting different kind of products to be bought by you. But for chocolate, that was up and until October last year not possible. Go to the next slide. So what we see happening, and this is something we feel responsible for as well as the market leader in chocolate making across the world, is to lead the industry to make sure that chocolate indulgence is future fit. The consumer attitudes to life change. Without getting in too much detail, but if you wish to, you can do a massive desk research. Just type in chocolate trends 23 and you will see a lot of papers popping up from Barry Callebaut, from my CMI team, who reflect upon, okay, what are these attitudes to life then about? Now, the most important thing to realize is that while consumers' attitudes to life change, they express this as well by the buying behavior in supermarkets. Now, unfortunately, if they now get to a chocolate aisle, either in biscuits and ice creams, in confectionery, you name it, then they are disappointed because they can't buy the products they would love to if they follow their changing attitude to life. Now, then the most important change in attitude to life impacting chocolate is that consumers would like to consume more mindfully. And what do we mean with this? Is what you see in the last column. Mindful indulgence is all about chocolate experiences, which obviously are massively tasty, but moreover, the nutritional profile is better. And moreover, they don't only do good to me, they do good as well to the world around me, either the communities we are part of or the natural ecosystem we are part of. So being aware of this evolution in consumer mindset, being aware of that the consumers are actually disappointed in what they can buy today, we thought we need to basically understand this better and translate this into a new product, a new type of chocolate, a new generation of chocolate. If we go to the next one. This chocolate is not only an opportunity because of consumers are waiting for it, it's as well a responsibility. Today, 85% of all chocolates across the world are basically a sugar bar. And what do I mean with it? That 85% of all chocolates contain more than 50% sugar. But in most cases, it contains even 60 to 70% sugar. Now, we all know what the impact of sugar consumption is about. It leads, if you don't exercise enough, to obesity. And obesity, the most recent studies learn us that obesity leads to cancer. So there's not only a huge opportunity and a gap in the market, there's absolutely a need for us as an industry to evolve into healthier chocolates, but obviously still be very tasty. We go to the next slide. So out of this observations, how consumers evolve, out of the fact that the current chocolates are all sugar bars, we felt we need to make sure that that lovely cocoa and the lovely cocoa bean, that lovely gift of Mother Nature, needs to get into its renaissance. So we have been on a journey for many years, understanding nature better, applying our craftsmanship to what nature brings us and gives us, and to innovate the whole category. And you will get an idea of how this manifested itself in October last year by watching the video. If you go to the next one, then there should be a video. No, okay. So the video is skipped. That might be for technical reasons. What would I suggest to do then is that we send this video to you so you can get an understanding of how we welcomed this chocolate to the world. Now then, in a nutshell, the why, what, how of second-gen chocolate. Go to the next one. Next one. So you see two different mood boards. The first mood board is all about what chocolate indulgence today is for consumers. But equally so, we know that there is a tension between what consumers can buy and what consumers prefer to buy. And that's what is reflected in the second mood board. So there are in the top line some words which are similar, and that there is a need for consumers to unwind and to recharge, to share care. And that need is not changing. But how it should be addressed, and that's what you see in the bottom mood board, is different. Consumers would like to have and experience true flavor. And the sweet treat is too one-dimensional for them. So if they visit the supermarket nowadays, then they feel that there is a tension between what I can buy and what I appreciate to buy and I prefer to buy. So if you would offer it to me, dear brand or dear artisan or dear chef, then I would be your best friend forever. So consumers living a more mindful life won't have fantastic, tasty experiences, but less about sugar and more about true flavor, flavor coming from nature. Get to the next one. So what is second-gen chocolate then about? The second generation chocolate is in essence about a new product design. It is fundamentally different versus what a first generation chocolate is about. It's a new product design to satisfy the consumer need to live more mindfully. The first generation chocolate is made out of, if you have a dark chocolate, 6-7 ingredients, and if you have a milk chocolate, 9 to 10 ingredients. We gave as a product design to the second generation chocolate a very simple development brief. It is all about cocoa and cocoa flavor, and hence for us is most important that most of this ingredient is present, and sugar should be the last ingredient. It's the least important ingredient on the ingredient list. And like I said, 85% of all chocolates today you can buy are brutally just sugar bars. So actually we could even argue if any one of you ever tasted chocolate, because in essence you have been tasting sugar. So the brief I gave to the teams years ago was, this is impossible. It's impossible that Mother Nature's gift of that lovely cocoa bean is basically ruined because of our incapability and hence our need to add a lot of sugar to it. Can we find a way? Can we redefine the chocolate making so that that lovely nature's flavor comes alive, which is, by the way, different versus a natural flavor, because there are a lot of products for sale today in a supermarket which are proud to be made of natural flavors, but natural flavors are extracts. Natural flavors are created in a lab. That's not what we aim for. We don't want to basically mask nature. We just want to make sure that we bring alive that lovely cocoa bean coming from the cacao fruit, cultivated on plantations in Ecuador or in Indonesia or Africa or Brazil, you name it, that we keep that lovely flavor intact and we celebrate it like what nature intended it to be. So the second-gen chocolate has a fundamentally different product design. It starts with cocoa, puts cocoa first, sugar last, and it's made with the simplest ingredient list possible. And that's basically implies 2 ingredients for dark chocolate and 3 ingredients for a milk chocolate. And remind you, dark chocolate today has 6, 7 ingredients, milk chocolate 9, 10 ingredients. We go to the next one. So how did we basically solve this challenge? So how did we make sure that indeed second-gen chocolate is basically a manifestation to indulge in the purity of nature's flavor? We did this, and you will later on be able to read it in the pre-read what the conception is about. But we did it by redefining the making of chocolates. We introduced a new making, the fermenting, the farming, and the roasting. We understood better what nature is about, redefined the protocols of these processing steps, and we call them cocoa cultivation and craft. So by introducing a new making of, by introducing a new processing of the lovely cocoa bean, gives us the opportunity to get to a flavor profile which is much less bitter, and therefore there's no need to add any sugar or hardly any sugar anymore. So it's by redefining the making of, which gave us the opportunity to get to a different generation of chocolate. Go to the next one. So second generation chocolate raises the bar in a bid to redefine chocolate making and transform the industry from a sugar bar to a cocoa bar. By putting cocoa first, sugar last, it contains more than 50% less sugar than the first generation of chocolate. And like I said, it has the most simplistic ingredient list you can imagine. Go to the next one. The next one, because that's a film as well, so we will send it to you. There might be similar technical challenges, because that's the product film of second gen. Now, the chocolate world seems to be very happy the moment we introduced this in Venice last year. If we go to the next one, across the world, second gen has been writing headlines. There has been, meanwhile, a reach of more than 400 million people who have been exposed to the second generation of chocolate. How did we do so? We invited the top tier media to Venice. That was a class of 20. Now, typically, if you invite titles like Reuters and Bloomberg, if they write about it, then other titles will follow, and they basically get inspired what these major titles wrote. And this is how you create a snowball effect, basically. So our first wave in our PR strategy has been extremely impactful and landed the message of second gen chocolate properly. Go to the next one. The assignment what Rogier just introduced is twofold. On the one hand, we want to make sure that and learn from you in a second wave campaign, how can we create desirability among consumers? So there is a kind of a crowdsourced need, and hence there's a force for good, and hence coming from consumers who say, hey, apparently there's a second gen of chocolate technically possible. Hey, dear Toblerone, dear Magnum, dear Kit Kat, dear whatever brand, why don't you have this as part of your assortment yet? That has been a strategy we've been used for Ruby chocolate as well back in 2017-18. But I'm very eager to learn from you how you would suggest, for example, to leverage influencer marketing techniques, how to leverage social media techniques to spread the word and the beauty of second gen chocolate. And why this is truly a beauty, it's not just because it is nice and tasty, like I shared, but it addresses several ESG goals. One is related to stimulating healthier lifestyles. And obviously, since this chocolate is a nature's gift and purely about nature's flavor and contains a dramatic less amount of sugar, it is as well with a minimum amount of ingredients on the list, so no E numbers or whatever at all anymore. But moreover, this second gen chocolate forces us as an industry to redefine chocolate making, to redefine the farming, fermenting and roasting. And that implies that an infrastructure, which is currently not per se present in a country like Ivory Coast, or in some plantations in Indonesia or Ecuador, that we will create an infrastructure, meaning we have to invest, and we are willing to invest in countries which don't have it, which are not capable yet. So there will be investments made to make this second-gen chocolate possible, versus that only in the countries where today chocolate is being produced, investments are being made. Moreover, the people involved in the countries of origin, there are different type of roles introduced. There are different type of jobs. So it will stimulate basically the living income and the living wage of the communities in the countries who lovely farm the fascinating cacao fruit already for 1.5 century. So there's a benefit for all the moment the second-gen chocolate would take over the full world of chocolate consumption. And what we would like to learn from you is, okay, what of these ESG goals resonate best with your target audience in your country, and how would you celebrate it to create this word of mouth and basically an amplification of the novelty. That's on one hand this assignment. The other hand is related to, we as Barry Callebaut are a business-to-business player. We sell our chocolate to the brands and artists of the world. So what would be a pitch if you get 18 minutes with this customer, a TEDx talk length? What would this pitch be about to convince the customer that it is stupidly insane that for 150 plus years, we have only been producing first generations of chocolate? Since now there's a second generation chocolate available, why would they actually not doubt anymore, but indeed jump on the wagon as fast and as soon as possible to bring it to their lovely consumers in their specific markets? So we hope that you are as much excited as we are, and as much excited as some of the global press was. It's a true novelty. It's a breakthrough for that reason, and we are proud that we are able to produce it. But if it ends up still in a shelf, it's still useless. Whatever we did over the last 10 plus years in R&D, and give it a meaning. Thank you.
Technical challenge.
Hello. Okay. Okay. So, Basmit, you actually mentioned that you had a video that you wanted to play. We can actually play for you if you want.
If you can. That would be
yeah. Okay. We'll play it for you then.
There are two videos.
Oh.
Yeah, that one. Fine. Page 10.
There is a big news in chocolate. So when I first found that I was coming to Venice for a chocolate event, I thought to myself, why Venice?
For centuries, this city had a rich tradition of craftsmanship, quality and design.
A city that, because of the way people travel, had to completely reinvent itself.
Like chocolate is doing as well.
For the last 150 years, the taste profile and the recipe of chocolate bars has barely changed until today.
I hope you really enjoyed this morning. Yeah, we took the media from across the globe on a 24-hour journey. They went to 2 workshops where they could learn more about what glass blowing is about, and they've been to the boat builder of the gondolas.
Increasingly, we see consumers lean more towards simple messaging on packaging, which really just highlights those ingredients that they want to see on there.
After lunch, we were introduced into the world of Giacomo, who spoke about the evolution of Venice. Basically, it's a very nice reflection as well upon how chocolate will evolve because of its renaissance.
We are known in Barry Callebaut for our innovation power in the market.
The question for us is, how can we make chocolate an even more joyful and delicious delight?
That we not only capture the consumer of chocolate today, but also the consumer of chocolate tomorrow.
a finely tuned farming, fermentation, and roasting process. What we have learned is set to change everything.
Welcome to the world of the second generation of chocolate.
The second generation of chocolate is exactly what I've been looking for, and also the world is looking for.
The fact that it contains 50% less sugar.
With only 2 or 3 ingredients.
The proof is in the eating, because the moment you eat these chocolates, you really feel those incredible cocoa tones.
It was like my whole mouth lit up.
This has the making of something that will reshape the industry.
I think today we have proven again that we are the leaders in innovation, and I think we should all be very proud.
Is still one more video. Would you like us to play it for you?
No. This is fine.
Okay. All right. So,
Wait, before that, do you have any other explanations that you'd like to bring after
Yes.
the video?
I hope the tour.
Okay.
all right. So, thank you very much, Basmet, for that very detailed explanation. So now we'll move on to the Q&A session. For those of you here, please click the raise hand button if you have any questions. And those who are in Venus right now may straight away raise their hands.
Come on, don't be shy.
Okay, so I believe while waiting for their questions, maybe we can ask our questions?
Right. Okay. So since actually, let's let the guests.
All right. So the first question is the second generation processing of chocolate cheaper than the first generation?
By the way, I hear echo. But no, it is not cheaper because there are different kind of activities happening. What I didn't mention is the moment we sourced the cacao fruit and we opened the pot, we measured the beans. And we understand basically that gift of nature in more detail, what the molecule structures are about. And the moment we understand these structures better, we can adapt the fermenting and roasting protocols to it. So it takes us more time. That's one. Secondly, since we reduce sugar in the recipe, which is the cheapest ingredient, and we add much more cocoa, which is more expensive, the recipe ultimately is more expensive too. But the interesting thing is, the moment you have a more intense flavor experience as a consumer, it's not about quantity anymore, but it's about the quality of what you taste and eat and drink. And therefore, what we expect is that brands potentially not necessarily have to massively increase their prices, but they just have a better quality experience, which is not about quantity per se. I hope that clears.
All right. Hopefully that answers your question. Right now we actually have Ashley Jacobs who raises their hand. Ashley, the floor is yours.
Sorry about that. Yes, I just wanted to ask how it would work, how the chocolates, this production process having less ingredients, how does it work with preservation? Like, how do you store these products when you have just like cocoa, milk, and sugar in a product?
So any step in chocolate making involves a heating step. We roast the beans, and the moment you mix cocoa with butter, the cocoa butter, which is part of the cocoa bean, with milk and sugar, it is at a specific temperature as well. What the industry used to do, we heated it up at such high temperatures that we burned a lot of lovely flavors. So the processing is now more delicate, but it still involves a heating step. And typically during these heating steps, the bacteria are killed. So the food safety is obviously never compromised, but it doesn't need to be compromised as well. And if there were all sorts of E numbers in a chocolate bar or recipe, it was actually not needed, but it was used to ease our lives and to produce cheaper chocolate. And potentially then some brands were earning money with it.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. So now we have Kali Young to ask you a question. Hi, Kali.
Hi, how are you guys? Everyone good? Are you muted? So, are you maybe interested in rebranding this or creating a different market segment that looks at luxury products in terms of chocolate at all because of the pricing difference?
That's a very interesting question. The question is how brands will position it. Will they position it like I always make the comparison, not that I own a Porsche, but Porsche has typically designed their engines around being fossil fueled. And the moment they launched the electric version, they introduced a new model with a new name. It's called the Porsche Taycan. So an iconic brand like Porsche, to introduce a better version of the first generation, or it was probably not the first, obviously, with Porsche, they gave it a complete different name. Other brands like Coca-Cola, they had Coca-Cola and then they launched Coke Zero. They still leveraged the same brand and they just added zero to it. It was a subline. Now the question is what brands will do with the second generation chocolate. Will they position it next to it in a complete different world, verbally and emotionally, or will they make clear to consumers, yeah, there's a first generation, you can still buy it, but I have an electrified version of that Volkswagen or of that whatever Mazda as well, with the same brand, but then with an E, a green E of electric. In our case, do they put it basically next to it in the same world, but there's a second gen and then the consumer can decide, or do they completely introduce a new brand world for the second gen? That's with them. And we are in conversations with some high profile global brands, but you can imagine that these are confidential. and I can't share and talk about it. So I'm very curious about how you would think it should land with consumers if you communicate with a customer.
Okay, so that's up to us and what our research finds.
Exactly. It would be a very nice challenge if you crack that nut. And there is never a right or wrong. It depends on your brand as well. As I think just for you, it's interesting to give a thought of what are the questions then to answer. And then secondly, how you will do it is equally important. But it's first of what is the thought process. You can learn from other categories to understand how you would potentially deploy it in the world of chocolate.
Okay,
Because
perfect.
we
Thank
are
you so
not the
much.
first category with new generations. Thank you for the question. Very good question.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for all of your questions, but unfortunately, due to time constraints, we cannot answer any more questions. However, I would like to ask Basmit, actually, if you have any closing remarks or final words that you might want to say to all of us before we conclude our session today.
It is sorry, the echo, yeah. It's not only for brands and businesses to turn this opportunity into something beautiful, but as well to claim the responsibility. I hope you feel the same for yourself. We sit on something very impactful, but it's up to us to make it happen. And your generation basically can enjoy, and your kids in the future can enjoy the chocolate they actually should enjoy, because it's the first time they can taste chocolate instead of sugar, that you help the world to transform from a sugar bar to a cocoa bar, because it is, first of all, fascinating in taste. Secondly, it's much better for your health. Thirdly, it's much better for the ecosystem of communities and nature we are part of. So it's a no-brainer. It's basically a no-brainer. And you can be part of that transformation for a huge industry in the world. If you would ask 10 consumers across the world, what would you consume to feel more happy or to feel more relaxed? 7 out of 10 will tell you, I would eat a piece of chocolate. So there's a massive responsibility on our shoulder, and I hope you feel that as well. And meanwhile, have joy and fun to crack the challenge.
I would love to eat lots of chocolate, to be honest, as long as it doesn't give us diabetes. So thank you very much to Bas Smith for before answering the questions and the explanations. So I would like to ask all of you for a big round of applause for all of us. So like Albert said before, I believe that we still have some more questions, but unfortunately we have reached to the end of the session. Before we end, can we take a group photo together? So please turn on your camera, everyone, as we're going to take pictures together. All right. Okay, so I'll count down from 3, 2, 1, smile. Next slide. 3, 2, 1, smile. Next slide. 3, 2, 1, smile. Again. 3, 2, 1, smile. Next slide. Smile. Last slide. Smile. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. So, Abrar?
Okay. Now that we have arrived to the very end of our session, on behalf of everyone here in Binus International, we would like to say a big, warm, and sincere thank you very much to everyone who has joined today's event. We wish you all well. My name is Abrar.
My name is Aurelia. Final remarks for the students. We wish you luck, do your best, and always remember to give it your all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.